Hello everyone, it's Diane, and the Bobbsey twin books are finished. So I'm going to show them to you. They're both custom orders, but I just wanted to show you something that recently in the vintage books I've picked up in the last couple of weeks, I keep finding things in them that are pretty cool. This was in one of the cookbooks that I found, and it's 11 one-dish dinner. So if you have corned beef, you turn it there and it has a menu for you, or recipes or something, and shrimp and chicken or turkey. So I thought this was cool, and this will definitely, there's more on this side, it will definitely go into one of my cookbook journals that I'm going to do. And just today I found this one, combed plissé nylon trim, guaranteed by Good Housekeeping. Isn't that cute? It was in a book. And then I found this, Cracker Jack little surprise, and it's still sealed. So I probably won't open it. I'll just stick it in a pocket of a journal. Whoops, I almost just opened it. So I thought they were fun. So make sure you look through the pages of your books, the vintage books, when you buy them. So anyway, these books are done. They both have the same amount of pages and the same elements. Oh, they're not quite done because I didn't put the corners on, but I have to do that. Anyway, they both have the same amount of pages and the same elements, but Gail's is thicker because hers has coffee dyed paper, and Beatrice didn't want coffee dyed paper, so it's not puffy because the coffee dye causes the paper to be crinkly and a little puffier. So that's why that is. So this one is Gail's. The Bobbsey twins at home, and I love this picture of the little boy holding a buttercup under her chin. And like I said in the process videos, because of this picture, it inspired me to use the Mrs. Coggs Little Darlings images, and I also used some of the Mrs. Coggs vintage bunnies images. Here's the lace I put on the spine, crochet trim, and the back is just plain. I still have to put on my my signature circle on the back, but here's the front with the library pocket that's glued to a bingo card, and this is one of the Mrs. Coggs images. So cute. This is a vintage library pocket. There are a lot of vintage pieces in this book, and also a lot of vintage feed sack fabrics. So the bingo card is vintage, the library pocket is vintage, and I took a guest check and decoupaged a napkin onto it, stamped "And the Story Begins," and this is a piece of the vintage feed sack fabric, and that goes right in there. So this is feed sack fabric here with some eyelash trim, which is available in my shop, and an image from Mrs. Coggs, little girl washing the dishes. I chose this piece of feed sack fabric because I thought it looked very similar to the print of her dress. This is a piece of vintage wallpaper and a little vintage sticker, and I meant to make it a tuck spot, but the wallpaper was curling too much, so I just glued it down. Here's a strip of craft paper with some hearts stitched to it. And here is a bunny story from a vintage children's storybook. And it has some trim on it and a fabric tab. Here's a little pocket, a little envelope that I decorated with a cutout from a children's book and some washi tape, and there's a little Mrs. Coggs image tucked inside, which is glued to a yellow index card. And then behind it is this tag. Vintage ledger. This is feed sack fabric with muslin and rickrack. Coffee dyed perpetual calendar from A Tattered Dream on Etsy. And then this little tag that I stenciled and stitched the picture to, and then glued a little heart. It's a little bunny stamp. More vintage ledger. A piece of the feed sack fabric. It has the pink and turquoise combination that Gail loves. Here's a songbook page and a couple little pieces of feed sack fabric. a vintage gift tag up here with an elephant. Now I want to tell you how I got this effect on this paper. The last time I did coffee dyed paper, I did a huge batch, and I lay paper towel out on my kitchen counters, and I lay the papers on there while they're waiting to go into the oven. And since I did such a huge batch and I didn't change the paper toweling, when I took the paper towels off the counter when I was done, there was pools of coffee on my counters, and I still had this graph paper downstairs with me, so I just didn't want to waste all that coffee, so I just laid the papers in the coffee and let it absorb them. And then I did it with quite a few of the papers and soaked up a lot of coffee. And then I think I put down some clean paper towel and laid these on there. I didn't put them in the oven, I just left them on the counter to dry. So they soaked up the coffee, so that's what the brown is, and then the blue is where the ink from the lines, the graph lines, smeared and spread, and it mixed with the brown coffee, and it really gave a cool effect. I like it. And there's a little teddy bear stamp. Let me show you this stamp. I've had it for a long time. It came from Stampington and Company a long time ago, and it's a cube, and it has little bears in different poses on each side, and I just forget about it, so I put it out on my stamping table so I would remember it. And since this book features a lot of images of children, I thought teddy bears were cute. And as I said in previous video when I was doing the process videos, this is a copy that I made of a children's coloring book which was too fragile to use. And so it's the center of the signature, and I turned it into a pocket. There's another of the teddy bears. Another book page, and there's a little piece of feed sack fabric and a piece of lace and rickrack. Here's my new owl stamp. Here's one of the vintage bunny images. Little girl holding her rabbit. The stamp up there, and this is just a piece of offcut. I had folded this once and it was too wide to fit in there, so I refolded it, and I'd already punched the corners. So that's why it has this funky shape, because I punched the corners and then refolded it and punched the corners again, but I thought it looked kind of cool. There's a different teddy bear stamp. So I used some whimsical stamps in this book. This is the back page of the signature Mrs. Coggs image with a piece of gimp braid, a little Tim Holtz word, and just a Kool-Aid dyed tag in there with a fabric tab. Second signature again has feed sack fabric, wallpaper circle, and a gift tag, and this time I was able to leave it as a tuck spot. So this is vintage wallpaper, a vintage gift tag, and another vintage gift tag tucked inside. Isn't that cute? Another fabric tab there. More bunnies on this storybook page. This is feed sack fabric, and it wasn't cut completely straight, so when I tore it to get it to a pocket size, it tore on the diagonal, which it tore on the straight of the grain, but it turned into this kind of a shape, and I liked it as a pocket, so I left it that way. It's a little piece of muslin and rickrack, a coffee dyed index card, and one of my tags with a Mrs. Coggs image. This looks like it might be from The Secret Garden. Another little girl stamp. Feed sack fabric here. I like the way this paper turned out too. This was paper that I did another batch, and I left, instead of baking everything, I left one whole array of papers just left on the paper towels and let them dry overnight. and that's how they turned out. So I really like that. There's a little frog here because this song is 7 frogs. So I got out my stamp of this little frog that's fishing with pickled flies. I don't use this stamp very often. It's an old Stampin' Up! Set. And then this came with the set. It says, "Time's fun when you're having flies," which is really cute. A couple of pieces of feed sack fabric and a vintage gift tag. There's a little bunny stamp. I have to glue this pocket together. So this one really had a cool effect. Looks like there was a paper laying here over it on the corner. Look at that. And you can still see the grid lines on this one. Another little teddy bear. Another offcut. There's the lily pad that goes with that frog set of stamps. And there's the girl frog. Fresh flies, 5 cents. I like this. Kittens hiding by the broom because they're not sure what these creatures are. It's got a piece of blue gimp braid. There's another bunny image with a couple feed sack fabrics. Wallpaper, vintage gift sticker, a Mrs. Coggs image here, and a vintage gift card, or playing card. Another decorated pocket. This was from a children's book, a little boy feeding the rabbits, and there's a little girl feeding the ducks. And my long skinny tags go in there. I like this poem. Bob Bunny stared at Camel's back and gave his heels a thump. Old Camel stared right back at him and simply murmured, "Hump." Old Camel looked at Bunny's ears and slyly had a giggle. Bob Bunny looked right back at him and gave his ears a jiggle. There's feed sack fabric and muslin and rickrack. And here's one of my craft long flapped layaway or jeweler's envelopes, and I Mod Podged pieces from vintage gift wrap onto it. I thought that was cute. I'm going to order some more of those craft ones and more of the blue ones because now the blue ones are selling more because I'm out of the craft ones. So I'll get some more ordered and put into my shop. They're really fun. There's another bunny. Most of the fabric in here is feed sack fabric. The tabs are not. There's another vintage gift tag. So I had told you, look at that, that Jennifer from Fabric Thread Needle had sent me a little package of scraps of feed sack fabric, and that's pretty much what I use. I think I cut into a couple of the larger pieces that I have, but most of what's in here was just from that scrap bag that she gave me. I love this image. This was a Mrs. Coggs image that I had to trim off to make it fit the page, but she's just so cute. So I told her that I think people would buy the bags of scraps because they're just perfect for us junk journalers. So she said that I can let you know that she's working on putting some bundles of scraps together. She's very busy. She works a couple of jobs, I think, plus has her Etsy shop. And I think she sells on eBay too, so she's very busy. So she's working on getting some packages, some sets of scraps ready for you. and I will let you know when she has them ready. I think she's going to be offering a special deal on them. So this happens to be blanket binding, the yellow blanket binding that I bought at Salvation Army. So I just cut it at an angle and then just slipped it over the page and zigzagged it so you can write underneath that and underneath this. This piece of fabric here is not bead tack fabric, but the scrap is. Oops, I have to put a card in here. And there's some little trim, pink trim there that has some gold threads in it. So I didn't put a pocket on the back either, but I do have to put my signature thing on there. So there's Gail's, and I'll just quickly go through Beatrice's. It's the same layout, the pictures are different, but this one has the fabric on the binding. And here's her bingo card. I still have to put a library card in there. So this is Vintage Bingo. It is narrower than the card I used in Gail's book, so I didn't make it a tuck spot because I didn't have anything tall and skinny to fit in there. But there's a little label, little yellow label. These are in my shop. And this is a Vintage Milk coupon, I guess, and a Vintage Library pocket and a Mrs. Coggs image from the Teddy Bears collection. So we have Mrs. Coggs images from both of those sets, some vintage wallpaper and gift tags and vintage playing cards. So we have all the same elements, lots of bead tack fabric. I will link Jennifer's fabric thread needle shop below, and I will link Mrs. Coggs below. Oh, that's got a rope swing on the tree. We always had a rope swing when I was growing up in the country in Pennsylvania. These are a foiled vintage gift card, gift tag. There's a little teddy bear. Again, I have to glue these pockets closed. So these were really fun books to make. This just has a green card in there. I love that little picture. The eyelash trim is in my shop also. This is cut from a children's book. You can journal on the back. I love using little pockets. I love this bead tack fabric, and this is one of the jeweler's envelopes. It's blue, and it's got a napkin with cupcakes on it, decoupaged on. I do still have, I think I still have some of the blue ones left in there, but they're selling fast. And like I said, I'll get some more in there as soon as I can. Here's my froggy lady. This is a piece of patchwork. My mother had been making some of these quilt blocks with these shapes, but she never finished it, and she gave me the pieces. So this is a piece of bead tack fabric here. I've got oh, that's where that goes. I took this out when I bound the book, and then I couldn't remember where it went. There's a house stamped on there. This is a Candyland game piece. And here's a guest check that I decorated with beadsack fabric, rickrack, a vintage gift sticker, and an image from a photograph from the Spiegel catalog, the 1961 Spiegel catalog. I really had fun playing with the beadsack fabrics in these journals. And here's the blanket binding again. These are Eloise Wilkins illustrations on this large page. There's nothing on that card. So as you can see, I have a couple more things to finish up. Other than that, they're done, and I like them. I hope the recipients like them, and I'll be back again with something new. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.